All right, so now we're moving on to dividing with exponents. Just like the last video, make sure you are writing down all the problems, the work for the problems, and key points so that you have them to look back to. So the question's asking, how would we find the value of 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 2nd? Remember, this bar, yes, it's a fraction, but it also means division. So what would it look like if I expanded it out so I didn't have any exponents? 2 to the 5th would have 5 2's. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 to the 2nd would have 2. 2 times 2. Now, we know from solving equations that a number when divided by itself is 1, which means it cancels out. So that these two 2's are able to cancel out. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so they would go away. And these two 2's would also go away. So I am left with 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so once I divide and cancel what I can out, I'm left with 2 times 2 times 2. When I simplify that and when I write that in exponential form with it, so a number, the base with the exponent, I get 2 to the 3rd, and 2 to the 3rd is 8. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now we can also go ahead and just go straight to actual solving if I were to find the value to start with. So my numerator right here, 2 to the 5th power gives me 32, and 2 times 2 gives me 4. And when I do 32 divided by 4, I get 8. So both ways gave me a value of 8. So right now, take a look at my original problem, 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 2nd. Look at my final answer in exponential form, so with an exponent, and what is the relationship, or do you see a connection between how we can get from the original problem to my final answer in simplest form? So with dividing exponents, it's the opposite of multiplying. When I divide with exponents, again, with the same base. Remember, the base is the big number, so our base is 2. When we divide with exponents with the same base, I subtract the exponents and keep the base. So my original problem, 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 2nd, if I subtract my exponents, so 2 to the 5th minus my other exponent of 2, I get 2 to the 3rd. And we just showed you how and why that worked out. So pause, make sure you have written down this huge key point for today with dividing with exponents. Try number 1 on your own. So I'm dividing 7 to the 9th divided by 7 to the 6th. So my final simplified answer is going to be 7 to the 3rd because I subtract my exponents, and 9 minus 6 is 3. Now for number 2, remember from yesterday, if I just see a number without an exponent, there is an invisible 1 as your exponent. If it helps to rewrite your problem vertical, you can do that if that is going to be easier to see compared to dividing horizontally. So I have the same base of 4, so I subtract my exponents, and 8 minus 1 is 7. So 4 to the 7th is my final simplified answer. Try number 3. Okay, so my base is still going to be that -5. I keep it in parentheses to show that my base is -5. Subtract our exponents, 16 minus 7 gives us 9. So -5th to the 9th power is my final answer. Okay, we're going to do this last one together. So here I've got a couple different things. I see that we're dividing and I see that we're multiplying. Before I can divide and subtract with my exponents, I have to simplify and take care of this denominator so I only see one term. So thinking back to yesterday, if I am multiplying with exponents, I have to add my exponents. So my 8 to the 9th is just going to stay as my numerator for right now. When I look at the bottom, again, if I'm multiplying, my base is going to stay the same, 8, but I need to add my 2 and 5. And 2 plus 5 gives me 7. Again, I was multiplying, so that's why I added my exponents. And then bringing it back to today, since I'm dividing with the same base, my base stays the same. I subtract my exponents, 9 minus 7, and I get 2. So 8 squared, or 8 to the 2nd power, is my simplified expression. Do this first one and actually find the value. Again, when it's asking for value, it's asking for an actual numerical answer without the exponent. So first I need to simplify this, get it down to the base and one exponent. I'm dividing, my base stays the same, 10 minus 7 is 3. So 3 to the 3rd power is my answer. So as the value, that's going to be 3 times 3 times 3. One step at a time, 3 times 3 is 9. Got to multiply by 3 again. 9 times 3, 27. As always, make corrections if you did not have this correct. Okay, do the second one. Okay, so I'm going to have, first of all, I see this negative 2 does not have an exponent, so what's really there is a 1. If it helps you, again, you can write it vertically. I need to subtract my exponents. My base stays the same at negative 2. 5 minus 1 is 4. So then I need to multiply that out. I'm going to write it out. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then lastly, negative 8 times negative 2, negative times a negative is a positive, so I get 16. If you multiplied it out to get your numerical answer in a different way, in a different order, that's totally fine, as long as you got the answer 16. So now we have a 0 as an exponent. So how do we find the value of 6 to the 0 power? Well, if we take a look at this example, 6 squared divided by 6 squared, we should know by now that when you divide any number by itself, it is always 1. So that means 6 squared divided by 6 squared, they basically cancel out and I'm left with 1. So for example, if I was just given a number, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Any number, any term divided by itself is always 1. If I use what I just learned today about exponents, 6 squared divided by 6 squared, my base stays the same and I subtract my exponents. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. So a number that is raised to the 0 power always equals 1. Again, a number that is raised to the 0 power is always equal to 1. So for this last example, I can think about it two different ways. First, I can think about what we just learned, that anything to the 0 power is 1. So 2 to the 0 power is just 1. 2 to the 4th times 1 is just going to be 2 to the 4th because anything multiplied by 1 is itself. And then again, finding the value means I need to find the actual answer. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And when I multiply those all out, I get 16. Or you can think back to yesterday and say, all right, if I'm multiplying with exponents, I simply add my exponents. 4 plus 0 is just 4. So therefore, this is just 2 to the 4th as my problem, which is what we got right here.